Welcome to the Mycelium Network Podcast, a podcast for early stage web developers and the mentors, teachers, and communities that help them along the way. Hey, Raphael. Welcome to the Mycelium Network Podcast.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks for having me.
It's a huge pleasure. I'm glad we're finally able to meet and to talk.
Yeah.
I think you were maybe after Riku, you were like the first person to join the Mycelium Network, and you've done so much to promote it. I'm really grateful for everything you've done. I know a lot about your story, but the people listening to the podcast might not. So I think the best place to start is for you to tell us more about who you are. And as I've said with previous guests, feel free to go as far back in history as you want and up to the present day.
All right. I'm Rafael. I'm Brazilian. And actually, I'm not from the IT world. I've been working with criminal law for like 8 years. And I work for a judge and I work reviewing criminal cases. And this year, I started to migrate, to change career paths. And I was actually curious because one of the things I started doing when I started studying programming and everything was working with translation. So I started working with the MDN localization, and then I popped up in one of the, I think it was the first community call you promoted. And then one thing led to another, and I ended up in the Mycelium network. And about me, I actually have had a brief contact with programming like 15 years ago. I started doing mechanical engineering, and I went far as the third year, but then I gave up and started studying law. And by that time, it was very different from the feeling that I have now. I started studying the university, and we started with, I think it was Pascal, and I think it was Turbo Pascal. And actually, we did all the exercises on paper, not on computer. It was very strange. And it was fun discipline to take, a fun course, because it was very challenging. We were studying basically math problems, but it was not very welcoming. So it didn't get my attention at the time. And my two brothers, they are in the IT field. My middle brother is on Netherlands. He's a backend developer, and my younger brother is on the university. And I had always have this like proximity with tech. I always liked to discuss with him about some issues about the technology in general, but I never really dug into programming since that period. And in my job, my actual job, it's curious because I'm known as the IT guy because I fix everything for the people that don't know anything about it. But mostly it's like very common issues and very basic issues that people have people are always afraid of computers. I don't know how to explain it. So mostly what I always do is like reason with someone like, what do you want to do and why do you think it's not working? And it's basically leading them to find a solution themselves. So the other thing that that led me to change career paths is because I'm planning on moving to Canada next year, the beginning of next year. And then it's a long-term plan, like to migrate completely to the tech field and maybe someday become like a digital nomad. It's like a dream I have with my wife. So it's like I planned for like 5, 10 years, but in the short future, I probably will be working with law in Canada. I'll be working in a lawyer's office. But it's since I started studying programming, the community and I've been part of the Mycelium network, but I've been part of a lot of different communities. I've been exploring a lot. And this is something I never had imagined back then when I started computing and then gave up, because it's really a different. It gave me a real different impression of the field. So I talked to a lot of people. I connected to a lot of people, and I found in like 2 3 months a lot of friends. I don't know anyone personally, but I have a lot of exchange of thoughts, of ideas, and it's very drives me further. So basically that's it. I'm, as you always say, I'm an early stage developer, and I like this provocation of yours because we have some stigma with the word beginner, and I have another mentor that always tells a little joke like we are always beginners here. Some are beginners from a longer time, some is are beginners from short time. So it's like putting things into perspective, and
Yeah.
we are always beginning on something.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I mean, that's why I think that, because, like I've said, like back-end developers going into front end, that's new to them. And even for front-end developers exploring, there's so many frameworks and things coming out these days. It's kind of calmed down a little bit, but there's still
Yeah.
a lot of action happening. I think in CSS, it's starting to happen more than in JavaScript. But and so whenever you approach one of these new frameworks, you're new to it. It's like, yeah, sure, you know the underlying language or the underlying technology, but the way you have to think about how you build applications is different. Like React famously always says that React is just JavaScript. And to some extent, that's
Yeah.
true. But it's not 100% true, because while the underlying language is just JavaScript, there's a specific way of thinking when you write in React that is not necessarily how you would approach something if you were writing without React. So those aspects of React, you can be a really good JavaScript programmer, but still find it challenging, because now you have to adopt this different approach. I know for myself, for the longest time, it felt so weird to put an on click on an element, because I've always learned that you separate concerns, and that's not how you do it. You do a document or query selector to get the element, and then you do element.add event listener. You don't go on the HTML element and put an on click there. It's like not the way to do it. But the reason you do that in React is it's idiomatic, and it's actually stripped away back into add event listeners by Babel or whichever transpiler you're using. So at the end of the day, it does end up being an add event listener. It's just the way you write it is different. State management, it's something that's very unique. It's now unique to a lot of frameworks, but I mean, React introduced this whole idea of, UI being a representation of application state. Again, that's a new way of thinking of stuff. And I sometimes find it hard again when I move back and I just write something in plain JavaScript. Then I miss this use state thing. It's like, oh, how do I do this now without having that use state code? So, you're constantly going between these worlds. And as you move between these technologies and frameworks and things, you're constantly an early stage person at something. So I think we need to even be okay with using the word beginner, but for now, let's use a different nomenclature just so that we can kind of break down the stigmas there. Yeah. So it's very interesting that you've gone mechanical engineering, then you went into law, and then you decided to go back into more of an engineering kind of thing. Is it just that you felt the previous industries or segments or whatever we want to call it, did you just find that the connection that you thought was there didn't last and you kind of feel disconnected from this world?
Exactly. Exactly. And I have a deep fear that I learned to deal with. That is that I would end up jumping from thing to thing all my life, and and actually there are more areas that I explored before going to mechanical engineering. But that was in my early adult life, the first one that was like a profession. And it's actually a good question you asked, because that had a lot to do with my view for technology now. Because when I started in mechanical engineering, I one thing I always liked it was to solve problems. And back in the day, it was most like physics or math problems. And that was the most topics I used to study. So I chose mechanical engineering for it, because I would see a lot of them more in the university. And I really liked the calculus courses, but nowadays I don't know why I like it so much, because it's like Greek to me. But in that period, I kind of felt that the most of my colleagues just thought about the technical aspect of things. They don't discuss it, ethical problems. They don't discuss it, the impacts of the solutions they were thinking in the world. In that I was feeling like out of I didn't have a identification with people. I like it to study the courses, but I didn't have the identification with the profession. So I kind of had a course on ethics and legislation on mechanical engineering, and then I decided to move to law. And I began law with another passion, like because I like the philosophy of law. I like it discussing ethical issues. I take part of a lot of groups in the university. It was a very great moment for me, because it was very effervescent. But when I entered the profession per se after I graduated, I started to realize I have a lot of idealizations of the field, and it's nothing like what would you expect. I actually been very lucky to have worked in a position where I could deliver justice and I could make an impact on someone's life, like uh, someone that is innocent, and I reverted that decision, and that kept me going. But I always felt I miss it more, because it was like swimming against the currents. And one thing I realized since I started studying tech is that there is a lot of people thinking about these ethical issues, and that was one major thing that made me stick around mycelium network. It was your vision that is not just learning to code. It's like your the purpose or your role in the society, in the world, and everything. And this week I was talking to a friend that is learning web development in the same course I'm taking, and she lives in Europe, and she is migrating fields too, but she came from a 20-year career as an actress. So it's very,
Wow,
very
interesting.
different worlds.
Yeah.
And one thing that caught my eye is because I asked her, have you decided what what you do you want on the future, on the long run? And I confess, I really expected her to say, "Oh, I want to stick with web development. I want to learn Ruby or I don't know. I want to be on the front end, on the back end." And she answered me, and that was very curious. She answered me, "I want to work with, something like global warming or environment." And that was a really, a really, interesting thing, because I have this kind of thoughts, but I'm so used to not discussing this with people. But she was thinking way ahead. She wants, and I want that too, to have purpose, with what I'm doing. It's not like just, oh, I want to have a good pay rate. I want to earn in dollar and everything. That's sad, because it's what I always see people talking about, but they don't, like, discuss where do I want to work, where this company might be doing, where the impact I expect to be part of. So I guess we kind of need this kind of talks a lot more. And, although I have been seeing a lot of, conference that approach something that touches these issues, like we had, like, the code length was very, very cool. And I was just today, on the Octogators. It's just a conference by GitHub, and they are talking about this too. But I really have the feeling that we are a minority yet. So, we really need to empower these voices. And it's very, it's kind of, problematic for us, like white guys, males, and everything. But, I guess, our role is to, like, support, these people. And I'm, like, planning to go to a first, world country and everything. But, it's crazy. I am a white male guy, but when I arrive there, they see me as Latin American, and that's not a concept we have in here in Brazil. And so
Interesting.
it's kind of interesting to, like, think of, think globally, all the issues, like your identity, your citizenship. And I really like doing this. So, I really hope that I'm really like to, I'm really enjoying learning to code, but I really hope that I end up in the long run, not just, like, sitting in front of the computer and coding anything they taught me, they said to me. I really hope that I have, like, a purpose of what I'm doing. It's that what I was, searching in the law field, and that is, what I'm searching in the tech field too.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Um I can totally see that connection. I think what is it that I was thinking? Journalism. I think a lot of people go into
Yeah,
journalism for the same reasons. They believe that through journalistic means they can have an impact on the world. And then I think a lot of them also get demotivated when they work for the wrong place, and they
yes,
find out that it's actually just regurgitating things that has been served to them. It's not making a difference. That's why I think publications like ProPublica and those people are so important,
yes,
because they are truly focused on bringing the truth to us. I mean, it's for us to decide what to do with it, right? But I don't think
yeah,
we should. I don't like the idea of being constantly having to second guess everything I hear. It's something that frustrates me a lot. It's like rather just be open and tell the truth, and then I can make up my mind what I want to do with that. Do I accept it? Do I want to push back against it? Or what do I want to do? But don't feed me lies, because then later on, what do? You get so, I don't know, demoralized that you kind of just ignore everything and you get this pessimistic view about the world. I was thinking about it yesterday. Like, there's a lot of negativity around the internet going on at the moment, and I
yeah,
think it's not unfounded. I think it's important that these things are being talked about, but I think there's a lot more in internet that is good, than these negative things. And I think again, the negative thing is being, made. It's being brought to the fore a lot more than it should be. I don't want us to live with blinders on and pretend that everything is great, but it's important to touch on these issues. And I mean, one of the reasons I have these conversations with people, and I am open to speaking with anybody from anywhere, and especially like I kind of actually specifically focus on elevating people's voices that normally don't get heard, is because these are the stories we need to hear, because this is the truth. These are people that they're not sharing an opinion, they're sharing a lived experience. And I think there's that famous quote that says, if you talk from experience, nobody can disregard it, because your experience is your experience, and nobody can say it's wrong. Like, it's my experience; it can't be wrong. Because I've already, with the few recordings that I've done, I've already had that exact thing happen, where I spoke to a woman early in tech, but in the United States, and her experience is vastly different from Pamela that I spoke to recently, who's from Mexico. She now lives in the US, but she's still facing challenges in the US with visa and stuff like that. So her experience getting into tech was completely different to the other person. And I think it's important to hear these differences and find, and I think that's the other idea behind mycelium, is to connect these worlds to each other, so that we understand that our lived experience is not necessarily another person's lived experience, and so that we can be more compassionate toward each other, and sometimes not be so quick to want to, I don't know, defend our opinion or what we think is right, that we're more open to listening and being compassionate and being there for somebody when they struggle. I think the thing that Riku, for example, also has brought up is he's always scared to make a comment on on like the mycelium or something, because he's scared it's a stupid question, and then he looks, and like those are the walls that we need to break down. Like there's nothing like that. Like the fact that you asked Peter that I spoke to in one of these in one of the previous podcasts, he said that it's actually a good thing when you ask these questions that some people might think is a stupid question, because more often than not, there's other people in the room that are afraid to ask that question. And by you showing a weakness, or you, like he says, taking a punch in the face, you are and giving the other people the answer that they actually wanted to hear. So sometimes you have to just stand up and ask the question and not care. Like if it's a stupid question, so be it. There might be 10 other people in the room that also didn't know, and now all of them know, and I took a little bit of a punch to my ego, but I'll get over it. So I think that's very important. But I'm quite interested in this nomad life that you have talked about, because that is kind of something that I'm also like, it's also a dream. It's something I'm working towards as well. So I think I've asked this question in many different ways. In the beginning, I asked people, would you rather start your own business or work for a company? But then I kind of rephrased it. And what it's boiled down to me in the end is, what does success look like for you? And I think you have a unique perspective with the nomadic life that you see. So in this tech world, in this new world that you're exploring, the new country you're moving to, what does success look like for you?
Well, deep question this, but I guess I'm not very ambitious in the normal, the common sense. I don't. Me and my wife, we are very alike. We never been like chasing big purchases or consuming a lot of things, and what we always were eager to is to uh, get in contact with different cultures and having real life experiences that like made us wonder. Oh, it makes us like expand our horizons. So we like to travel a lot. We haven't done that too much in the past years, nothing at all. But we like to travel so much, not because we don't travel to buy things or we don't like the tourist spots. We like the to go off the beaten track. We like to see how people live. We like to connect with people like randomly. Like the first time I was in Canada, it was like 10 years ago, and I was in Toronto for 20 days. And one of the best days on my trip was this particular day when I was exploring the harbor front, like the lake shore, and I saw this guy that lived on the streets. He had like a market uh, car with a lot of stuff, and he looks just like Sandra. He was a very big bird, white bird, and we started talking, and he started like telling how he got there and why he wants to live in the streets because it was an option for him. He offered me food. We ate together. He had like a lot of snacks, and we it was autumn, so for me it was very cold, but it was warm for them.
Hmm.
And as the day goes long, I started to feel very chilly, and then I realized we've been talking like 5 6 hours, and it was like this incredible experience to really just pass time with someone and really connect in a deep level. So that's something I always wanted to do. Always like to do, and this digital nomad dream that I have is not to be running around all year long in a lot of places in a hurry. It's just like to live in a city for some time, see how people live, see uh, know some different people, and then like move on and live somewhere, see for a couple of months or 6 months or a year. Just don't be tamed to a particular place. Just be more without roots. Just be more of the world. So we really envision this like very far on our lives, maybe earlier than we think. But I know it's really hard to like create some stability to have this and to not be depending on a regular paycheck and everything. So we are slowly building towards this. I don't know if I ever like be an entrepreneur, like be a entrepreneur, but I guess it's something that maybe happen someday. But either way, what I want to work with, it's just something that have a kind of purpose that helps people in. It can be like the slightest way. It can be just a little help for someone, but I really need this human side of things. That's what I came to miss a lot in my work. Like the first years, I used to talk to a lot of people, like people that have process in the justice, and I was in, I was hearing the pledge and everything. But as I grew in the career, I've been more and more disconnected from the face to face and more in the work, the hard work. So that's something I really miss is to talk to people, to hear the problems, to kind of offers a solution. This is, my wife says, is like a good thing about me and a bad thing because anyone that came to me with a problem, I can't stop thinking about it. It's my first reaction to to think of a solution, and this can be really annoying sometimes, but it's just my nature. In some a lot of times I like start wasting my time with other people problems just because I'm curious. I can't stand like having a problem and don't having a clue what to do with it. So it's really something that I, I learned to live with, but sometimes makes me waste a lot of time. So that's what we see in the long run, like not being not being on one place for our lives. We want to have the flexibility. And it can happen that we live for 10 years in one particular spot, but I like to have the option. I like to have the freedom to, if I want it, restart in some place new. So this is what I'm uh, wanting to experiment in Canada, like restarting my life, and this is what I wanting to be used to, like having this ability to restart every time I feel the need to. I don't like to be in one place or in one job or in one, I don't know. I don't like this feeling, so I want to be more lightweight. I want to travel light, so that's more about it.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan. I agree. I mean, for me also, I've had the conversation with people before, and it's like it's I don't mind it when people say necessarily um, when there's laws or when there's regulations and certain ways to do things. I think that's important. That's why the Mycelium Network has a code of conduct. I think these things are important. But what I don't like is when people take options away from me. That is something I don't like. Like, don't don't try and pigeonhole me. Don't try and put me in a box and expect me to be happy. Because the box that you put me in is not necessarily the one that I feel comfortable in, and not having the option to try a different box that's what that I don't like. I might conform to certain rules and practices and stuff like that, but it should be on my terms and stuff that has meaning and value to me, not something that somebody else has decided for me. And I think there's quite a lot of quotes and things that relates to that, where people is like, if you don't choose your if you don't create your own life, somebody else will create it for you. So
Yeah,
we need to be careful that we don't bow down to other people's hopes and dreams for us. We have to have our own and not be scared to have our own. I think it's human. All of us want freedom. I think that's something that I can't imagine there's one person in the world that says, no, I don't care for freedom. I think we all want freedom. And when our freedom is impeached, I think that is when people get angry. And understandably so. Some people don't handle their anger very well, and they use it in a destructive way. I prefer to guide us towards using our anger or our
yeah,
in constructive ways, in ways that we can lift each other up, not destroy things. I always see these things where people are unhappy with something with the education they're getting from their schools, and yes, you should be angry about that. You should say, I don't like this. I feel I have a right to a better education. But then burning down the school doesn't help.
yeah,
That that is not the way you should channel that anger. You should channel it in a different way. Find a constructive way that you're building up, not breaking down, because otherwise we're constantly going back to square one and we have to start
yeah,
over. And so we're never progressing as a society, as humanity. We're always just recreating the wheel over and over again. And yeah, that's no good. Um, so
and talking about the individual side of it.
mhm,
Uh, one interesting thing that I think I like, and I see this in, I guess, in your lifestyle, is that you do a lot of different things. So I know that I recently discovered just today that you play classical guitar, and so it's something that I use it to do a lot growing up. I was a biker. I was a cyclo activist. I like to photograph. I was in a group of photographers, and I did a lot of stuff. And then, like, we are growing up, and then we are working so much, and we are being demanded so much that life starts to resume to work. So that's another kind of freedom that I want to have, like to have free time. It's like I heard this a lot in the when we talk about Canada, is that work-life balance. They talk about this a lot, and it's not like concept we have in Brazil. It's almost the other way around. We like praise overworking, praise the workaholic. So it's very toxic, and it's kind of what led me to uh, just focus on work for quite a long time, and then I started to feel the need to have more of life, and that's something I really want to do, and that's something I really been feeling being feeling welcome to do. Like you other day you talked about the social network called Polywork, and I really liked the idea because there's a lot of things I like to do, and there's a lot of things I do well. So I don't want to go from the lawyer box to the developer box. I don't want to have boxes. I want to have a lot of different activities I have interest in. So I really cherish that we are having this kind of space where you have value because you are complex. You like different things. You like to talk about a lot of things. You don't have like the right topic to talk about. Or this is so much off topic. You can talk about this here. You always have some space. You just have to organize it. So everyone that wants to talk about it, find each other and everything. And I really, when I listened to the podcast with Rico, I had a lot of identification with this issue to put yourself in public and to speak in public. And I grew up as a very shy person, and I just started to like speaking. I spoke in public the first time when I was 24 years, and for like 5 years, I always felt really bad. Every time I wanted to speak in public, I almost passed away. So it was very difficult. But with time, you start to get used to it. And nowadays, I just speak my mind. I try at my best not to refrain from saying something. I want to speak my mind if I'm speaking something that's garbage. Someone it's says garbage very politely, I hope. And we're going to continue keep the discussion going. So I might be wrong about something, and the conversation flows. I don't have this fear of like being wrong. You don't have to have this concern. You are in this position, and like a week from now you can be thinking entirely different about something. That's the beauty of connecting and discussing and everything. And
Yeah.
that is true for life. That's true for like these ethical issues we're facing. That's true for our
Hmm.
coding problems too, because
Yeah.
a lot of times somebody ask a question, and a guy have just like the perfect solution, but it's not a done job. Someone can be like come up with a better solution, a more performative solution. So things are always reinventing themselves, and we can't like expect to have the right answers for everything. We have the answer that serves us now, and we have to keep talking about it because things are in constant change.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the topic of polywork, I really like it. Like I heard about polywork really early on, and I joined it because it was like, I don't know. I think it's maybe a tech thing. Like you always want to try the new thing. It's like, let me see what
Yeah.
this is. So I signed up early on, and I was on there, but I wasn't really using it for much. I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then um, when I was thinking about this podcast, I was like, wait a minute, I wonder if Polywork can help me find some folks. And I kind of tried it out, and the response was incredible. I mean, it was really like, there's so many people still that I have on a list to go back to who's interested in doing this. It's mind blowing. But then the founder of Polywork recorded a little short video that he put on the Polywork YouTube channel. And he actually defined what the idea behind Polywork is. And then it clicked for me. It was like, oh, this is exactly the place I want to be. It's about this idea of you aren't defined by your job. You are multifaceted. You like and do many things, and you change your mind from time to time, or constantly change your mind.
Yeah.
And that connected me to another thing that I heard. I heard a TED talk from a woman that talked about being a multi-potentialite, because they always talk about this thing like you have so much potential and you have to focus in this specific area. And she was like, but she can't do that. She has so many interests that she can't just focus on one thing. And that and like introverts, being an introvert is a superpower. Like there's people that talk about that as well. The same thing. And she said it actually, what she calls it is being a multi-potentialite. I'll link up the TED talk in the show notes. It's a really, really great talk. And I think there's a lot of us that's like that. We're introverted, like me. I'm a super shy person, but I somehow keep putting myself in these very public situations, like to pick up a guitar and to like go and play in front of people. I mean, I was in a band where I played in front of people. I played solo guitar in front of people. And it was nerve-wracking. I mean, I've spoken at conferences. I was in Venezuela once where I spoke at a Ruby conference about Firefox OS back in the day. I kept putting myself in these situations. The interesting thing is, even though it might seem like the weirdest thing for me to do, I kind of feel that in the moment, I really, really feel good. It's energizing. And I really, it gives me this boost of confidence that I just want to do more. And so I think we need to be careful to not avoid things that makes us feel uncomfortable. I think sometimes just push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, and you'll find that you actually enjoy being uncomfortable. And a very, very common thing for us to do, and I know I'm very guilty of it, is to confuse excitement with anxiety, because they feel very similar in the body. The emotions and things you go through are very, very similar. And me being somebody that is an anxious person, and I do have generalized anxiety disorder, I definitely confuse the two a lot of times. So often putting myself in an uncomfortable situation forces me to feel those emotions. And then I can like kind of over years and years and years, you kind of learn to identify, no, this is not anxiety, this is excitement. You should really feel these feelings and internalize them because it's good. This is where you get your energy from. So yeah, I think we should
make you feel alive, very alive.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think we should, and totally, there's times when you need to step back and say, that's enough for now, because it is tiring. It is tiring. If you are an introvert and you are shy and you find it to put yourself out there, it's stressful, and stress makes you tired. So sometimes you need to step back and be in a comfort place. You need a place where you feel at home, where you feel safe. I think the way you speak about your wife, I'm sure she is your safe place. So I think whenever you feel overwhelmed, she's the person you can go to who can listen and understand and be compassionate. Like I also, with my wife, with my kids, it's like it's somewhere where I can go where I know I'm not going to be judged, or where I can show my weakness without being scared. And I think these communities should open these opportunities for us as well, to feel a bit more, be a bit more vulnerable and not be too concerned about it. So jumping back to more like the tech world, being from Brazil, and how do you find the tech industry like in Brazil? Is there things there that you find that really like it needs a lot of work, or is it actually not what most people will think? Is it actually a very thriving, healthy industry?
No, not healthy industry, but it's hard to say because I kind of don't know too much about the global tech industry. But what I'm more familiar with is that's because I'm like studying a lot and learning, and I'm exploring a lot of communities, and I'm talking to a lot of people that are in the same position, and I'm more familiar with this. It's like how do you start in the industry? I don't. I had some great talks with like senior developers, but mostly like people like me that are migrating areas or that are like just starting, like young adults starting in tech. And one thing that really gets me is that I don't know if it is just in Brazil or it's like a global thing, but people don't value the university here. And it's very crazy because in other fields, it's not a phenomenon like that. But in tech, you have like this massive advertisement of boot camps and online courses that promises that you will be earning a great paycheck in like 6 months or 8 months. And it's a very unreal expectation. And a lot of people don't have like the sense to separate information from merchandising. So I, I've met with a lot of people that got into debt to start a boot camp or like left his job and don't have a plan like for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They have a plan for 6 months, and it's very unreal that he will be like earning something better than his previous role. So I have I could say a very successful career in law. I earn good money for what I do, and I could be I have like colleagues that have 2 kids, and it's been doing what I do for 20 years, and that's okay for them. So, but for me, it it has to be something more. So I kind of came up with this plan, and it's a medium to it's a plan for the long run. It's not like, oh, I want to change everything in 6 months. I will be earning more than I earn today. But I met a lot of people that really thinks this. And sometimes if you don't have the time or the chance to do a university, like it's not possible for me in my plans to like take 4 or 5 years and do a regular bachelor degree in computer science. I really wish that I had this option, or I really wish that I did that years ago, but now it's not a possibility. But what gets me is like people with 18, 19 years old that can do university, have parents that will support them through university, and they still want to do a boot camp of 6 months to get into tech, and they expect that they will earn like high salaries, and they will be recruited with to overseas companies, and that's not real. So I that saddens me a lot because uh, this kind of thinking, it's very like I want to earn money immediately. I don't care about who I will work for. I don't care about anything. I just want this now. And it's very hard to like convince people that you should take your time. You should build like a really strong foundation and maybe get a first opportunity in tech, but it can't leave you far. It can't. You won't go far with just this like uh, uh, basic classes and everything. So people don't realize it takes some time to build a career. It takes some time to invest in projects. I really like your approach with projects. I have talked to you about it. That you always plan for escalating. Like you start a little project and you put the issues and you like do everything I would expect to find in a really big project that has like 40 people working on. And that's really a long run thinking, because you have to have this approach since the beginning. And a lot of people, especially here in Brazil, uh, thinks that they can build a portfolio like just doing code challenges and replicating interfaces and cloning websites, and that is good. That can uh, lend you a first opportunity, but you aren't putting not so much on the table. You aren't making anything new, or you aren't doing any new approach of something. So when I don't have like uh, any project I'm proud about right now, but I have a lot of ideas and I have a lot of planning going, and I know like sometime in the future I will have something good going on, and maybe that can be uh, like something that will help another one, or another developer would pick that and go further. So I really like this idea, and that's another thing that like really got me into tech really hard is open sourcing, and I really like to be part of something bigger than me. And so I kind of don't I can't get my mind to waste time doing just little projects and repetitive tasks, but I have a lot of ideas going on that I want to put on the paper and then on the code. So I guess this is something that I think it's it has to be it has to change. Like I can see these people with this mentality going uh, to make an impact. And it's not like I'm not rooting for them, but I want to them to understand it's not supposed to be this easy. So it's like it's really obvious that it's a lie that anyone can get a job with six figures in 6 months. Uh, I think
Yeah.
it's really interesting to state that coding is for anyone that wants it. Anyone can learn how to code. That is
Hmm.
not the same thing to say anyone can learn how to code in 3 months and have like a bigger salary on the. It's different things. So it's possible for everyone, but it's a long road to follow. It's hard. It's not supposed to be easy. In Brazil we having this phenomena where the global market in IT is very hit up. So a lot of developers from Brazil are getting recruited overseas. That's what happened to my brother. So a lot of companies here in Brazil are recruiting other developers from Latin America. So it's like the talents are going to the first world countries, and we are outsourcing in other least developed countries. So people have this feeling that anyone can join to tech right now, and uh, his life will change drastically. But I can't see that way. For me, it feels like it's a very long road. You have to build up uh, step by step, day by day. You have to have discipline. You have to have focus. You have to have consistency. So, what I see happening a lot, it's people starting these courses or starting university and then getting frustrated, and then they gave up everything because their expectations were too high. But if they just stick with it for a little bit and they have just planned a little bit well, they could find their way into tech. But the information, it's not like sexy to say, oh, it's hard. You won't find jobs so easily. You have to build a lot of skills and everything. So people fall for the advertising. And this is a very big issue here in Brazil. And we have a lot of discussion about this because a lot of people are going to tech, from accountants, actresses, lawyers, everyone is going to tech, and everyone is getting frustrated. So we have to like put our feet on the ground, and we have to like, is this a thing I really want to do, or is this just a way to earn more money? Because it's not problem if you want to earn more money. So, but you have a lot of options to do this. It's not just tech. So you can find something more suitable for your expectations or for your time schedule. You can, but people want like a easy solution for everything. And this is very Brazilian culture. So it's very hard to reason with people. So I have a lot of talks with another fellow early stage developers, and I'm always the guy that's very boring and annoying that says it's not like that. Like, take a step back, take a deep breath, like plan it very well. You have to know how you will support yourself through this migration. And you have a lot of people changing careers, so you have to plan this very well. A lot of them have children to support. A lot of them have another have mortgages, have a lot of things to to put into the accountant, and like it's not that easy. It's not guaranteed for anyone. You can be like a genius, and it's something like, there is a lot of people that don't go to university and like uh, learn by themselves, trying and failing and trying again. But they are the exception. You should prefer the easiest path. Is like have good teachers, have good mentors, and like build it slowly and build it strongly. But people always pick the exception and want to be the rule. I I start with the premise that I'm not a genius and I'm not a very lucky guy, so I have to like put my feet on the ground, put one foot in front of the other, and like start building very slowly. But I know it can, it can, I know I can go really far with this if it's something I wanted to. And when I was in university, I had this teacher of philosophy that I was in the last class he taught. He was going to retirement. So he ended the class with a very interesting poem. Uh, Maybe I don't remember the name of the author now. I think he is Spanish. I don't know, but I will send you after. But he has like these really illustrations that it's like there is no paths. He paints life as you are on a boat and you can go to anywhere in the horizon. There is no track to follow. You have to just find where you want to go. You have to find the direction, and you have to go and discover what is it. You don't have like a trail to follow. So this idea is made me uh, change a lot of assumptions I had when I was growing up, and I was entering my profession. So it stuck with me, like this idea that you can go anywhere, but it's your responsibility. The path you are defining the path. There is no previous path for you to follow on. And sometimes people want so much to have a previous path that is a
Mhm.
guaranteed success, but it simply don't exist.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
follow the steps of another person, it's not guaranteed that you end up with the same result. You have
Hmm.
a lot of factors that come into place. So you have to accept this, learn to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an approach to life, and I have this approach to developing too. I I want to take my time. I want to explore different technologies, different tools, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to build my own path into technology. Uh,
Yeah.
Find the things that make sense to me, and not just
Mm-hmm.
follow someone that says, "Oh, this is what I did, and now I'm this. You have to and pay me something, and I will and I will teach you how to get there." I don't believe in this, and I don't. I'm not afraid like to spending money to because I sense that we have to value the other people's time,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I always take this as just another resource. What
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do with it, it's my responsibility. It's
Yeah.
not like a given thing.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I don't think it's just in Brazil. I've heard the same thing about the boot camps a lot. I like, I mean, it's happening in South Africa. Also, the thing which you that you said, where people are contracted out from European countries, contracting people, and
Yeah,
they're leaving Brazil. It's a common thing in South Africa as well. People kind of get started here and then they leave the country. They go work in Europe or they go work in the United States. And one of the problems with that is products and ideas and companies and things that started here, they don't have those people with long-term experience. They don't
yeah.
have those. They have a lot of junior people building the software.
It's the
And so
same here.
yeah, so they're missing the guidance from more senior people who can think long term, because
Yeah,
they've been through this process before, and they can say, well, this looks like a good idea right now, but it's going to blow up in your face tomorrow or the day after, because today our website has 10 people coming to it, but we don't know what's going to happen a month down the line, and this is not going to be sustainable. Like, this is not maintainable, or whatever the case may be. So it's not uncommon. I think it's very common, and obviously social media and all of that has played a role in this, right? It's created this culture of instant gratification, and so people don't want to wait. And I think that's why a lot of people get frustrated, because, like you said, there's unrealistic promises being made, and then when it doesn't go the way that it's been advertised, then people think like, oh, this is just nonsense. The whole industry is broken, and it's not that. I think that's parts of it that is
yeah,
broken, and that we need to change how people sell these things. We need to be realistic. We need to say that. Uh, it could work for you. You could go to a boot camp, do 6 months, learn React, and get a job and be on your way, and you can be happy with that. But it's not a guarantee. So never take it as a guarantee. Um, so I can hear that you like to plan long term, and that you think not just for today and tomorrow, but you kind of think long term. Has there been any like books, resources, people, anything like that in your life that has helped you with that, or is this just something that's just natural for you?
I don't know. That's an interesting question because actually, I think on my raising up, I was taught to avoid risks a lot. Uh, my my mother, I think she has this approach of life, like get somewhere safe and be there and like build your home there and don't live there for anything. So I always been afraid to take risks, and but I couldn't be satisfied with what I had. So I had to take risks at some time in my life. So for doing that, I had to plan. Otherwise, I won't stand the anxiety. But I know there's a lot of people that are more spontaneous or impulsive and just go and do it. And I couldn't do that. So, and my wife is very much alike. We planned a lot because we we have this assumption that if anything could go wrong, it would go wrong with us. So, but that doesn't prevent us for doing things. Just I guess a lot of times we feel pessimistic, but I like to think that we are realistic, or like trying to approach that. But we planned a lot, but we don't let this fear or this we don't let it paralyze us. So planning is like our defense mechanism to not having control of everything. So we have to accept that you don't have control. So if you know about something that could go wrong, make a plan for it. If that happens, you know what to do, but don't freak about it. So I kind of take this for everything in my life, and I learned a lot with investments because you can control what will happen to the world. You can control what will happen to prices and everything. So you have to make a plan, stick with the plan, and like believe in it. So you can like be all the time reacting to what the world presents to you. So I guess when we started, like after we married and we started uh, thinking about plans for life, and we start like saving up money and have to organize it, and we start thinking about it and investing money to make these plans come true. We kind of learned a lot with to learn to accept you have no control over what will happen in your country, in the world. It can be a war, a pandemic. I, I, I like to say to my life, I would never thought I would live through a pandemic in my life. But when the pandemic hit, we didn't get desperate. We had like we knew what to do. Like we just take a deep breath and like rearrange our planning. Like uh, I sold my motorcycle. I started working from home and everything. So we always like to have options, and this come out like planning, but it's not like we are too concerned about the long run that this stop us for going further. But I really like to think that you should have at least a minimum concern what will happen in the long run, because otherwise you will get, like I said, you get surprised by the things that if you really thought about it, it was kind of obvious. It could happen. It's not necessarily will happen, but it could happen. So
Yeah.
I always like to have a plan in place. But it's not like an anxious thing to me. It's like I'm defense mechanism to anxious. So I don't feel anxious because I know that I can deal with things. I've been through a lot of surprises in my life, and I passed through it. So it's just be another one. So it will it will be okay. So
Yeah, that's a good approach to life. And I think that long-term thinking and that planning for things that could potentially go wrong, I think that's going to help you a lot when you code as well, because I think it's something that we do. You know, those if
I
statements.
hope.
You say, if this thing is present, then add an event listener to it. Don't just assume it will be on the page, because it might not be
Yeah.
there, and then it's like, oops,
Yeah.
now your code is broken. So I think that's going to help you in your code as well.
I hope so.
Rafael, this has been lovely. I'm so glad that we could finally connect. It was a really good conversation. In closing,
Pleasure.
is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with? Any thoughts? Any words of inspiration? Anything?
Uh, maybe speaking of perspective of a beginner, uh, I really something I struggle a lot is the amount of information and the fear of missing out, and there's a lot of things that are constantly getting to our attention. And I when I started, that made me real anxious, and I'm really starting to develop coping mechanisms to this. And what helped me, it was to speak to people. So I spoke with a lot of people. I spoke with people more mature than me. I spoke with younger people than me, and we start realizing that everyone feels like something similar, and a lot of times in their lives, like every time you have a new job, you are moving to a new home, you are having a new kid, every this kind of steps, like change everything in your life. You have to adapt to it. So it's the same thing as coding, as learning a new skill. So we are always like going to we are always feeling like imposters. And then sometimes we felt like, oh, I got this. This is so easy. And then we start to realize, no, it's not that easy. It's really more difficult than I thought. So it's common to see these things happen to a lot of people in a lot of stages in their professional lives. So this is like what's most important about community. It's like connecting with people, like exchanging thoughts, exchanging ideas, and exchanging experiences. And that helped me like be really calm about my journey in coding, because on the first months, couple of months, I was really freaking out. Oh my God, I don't think I can do this. I see a lot of things I want to do with this, but I don't think if I'm able to learn how to get there. And then I started realizing a lot of people feel the same way. A lot of people felt the same way when they are starting. So this human connection is, I think, uh, crucial to having this. And that's something a lot of us missed, a lot of us lost on the uh, distance learning. So it's hard to connect with people when you are like in the same class. You have like lunchtime, you like chit chat and everything. You like start to
Yeah.
connect it, even if you didn't mean to. But on the internet, you have to have this purpose. You have to do it this intent. You have to reach out to people. You don't have to be ashamed of not knowing what you are doing or spoken the wrong thing. You should at least look for people that are more welcoming. But you probably will find a lot of people willing to help you. And that's been my experience, and that's been what made me like persevere in my studies. And I think it will be like that for my life, because one thing I realized, that I will never stop having something to study. The technology changes really fast, so you must like just get used to be a beginner for
Yeah.
life and have this approach and connect with people that are beginning in that field too, in that technology, in that stack, and just go with it.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. Thanks so
And
much,
thank
Rafael,
you for
again.
having me. It was a real pleasure finally meeting you.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll keep on conversating on the Mycelium Network Discord, and I'll be following your career and seeing how things work out for you. I'm really looking forward to see what you do with everything. Thank you for listening to the Mycelium Network podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your friends. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Have something to add? Continue the conversation on GitHub and join the community on Slack. Until the next one, keep making the web awesome.